Well, good morning. This is a good time to do this lesson and to teach this as we start off with talking to God in the morning as we look at King David once again, who is the author of this psalm. Let's get right into it. I believe a good title for this psalm would be The Needs of a Future King. David has already been selected and anointed as the next king of Israel, but he is not serving in that position. Saul is still on the throne. And so we have a king that is running and trying to keep himself alive. And he has enemies around about him. I think he gets a little bit of a break. And this brings this psalm our direction. As I said previously, it was written by King David. Musical instructions are written to the chief musician by King David. And this is the first encounter we've had with musical instructions. This one is Nahila, and it means to bore through. This was a flute-like instrument. And so here are some pictures of instruments from Bible days. And we can see some of the holes. Some look like flutes. Some look like hearing aids almost. But they are bored out also. And we will be looking at instruments in the book of Psalms all by themselves in the near future. I'm still working on that. Chronologically, it fits in 1 Samuel 18:13. The backstory, the background: David has been chosen the next king of Israel, but Saul still reigns. Saul knows this and tries to kill David, but David escapes. Saul, wishing to get David out of his court, makes him a captain in the army. David plays all this very wisely and watches his steps during this time. There will be assassination attempts from the king. What does every future king need? Well, I'm reminded that every time we read the Word of God, it applies to me first. And my prayer is, Lord, speak to me. Teach me great things from the Word of God, but speak to my heart. And so any future king needs to have, right out of the get-go, a morning prayer time, morning to meet with God, as does every child of God. Give ear to my words, O Lord. Consider my meditation. Once again, the word Lord here is Jehovah, and it means the existing one. It was as in the one and only. There is no duplicate to Jehovah. Jehovah stands alone and is above all false gods. The word consider, David prays. He said, would you understand my whispering or my murmuring? In this case, meditation, what David was doing in the morning when he had to get up and pray, he would quietly speak out loud. He would be praying. He would be talking to God in a very, very quiet voice. Not a bad idea. It keeps your mind in the right place, especially if you're talking. You have to listen. You have to be thinking what's being said. And with David, with God, he was truthful. David would share his heart with the Lord when he could share it with no one else. So an encouraging thing. What every king needs, future king needs, is what every Christian needs. A time of alone with the Lord. Hearken, heed unto the voice of my cry. The word cry is not in tears and sorrow, but cry for help. My King and my God. Now, the word God here is Elohim, and it denotes the Trinity. For unto you will I pray. My voice shall you hear in the morning, O Lord. In the morning will I direct my prayer to you and will look up. Some really encouraging things here for the future king and for our lives. First of all, the word direct in the Hebrew means to put in order. Use your morning prayer time to put your life in order and to put your day in order. What are your priorities for the day coming up? How does the Lord work in and through your life for what you face. And yet at the same time, it's a good time just check our hearts and our lives and put them in order for service to the Lord. The other thing is, it's not wrong to look up to God, especially if you're by yourself and you're speaking. You usually look someone in the face that you're talking to. In this case, spiritually, we would look up and acknowledge God as the God of all creation of the heavens and the earth. So here's some insights. David knew what it was to talk to God and to pray. A future king also needs to have a mighty God. We get too complacent. We get into our comfort styles and living, and because of that, we don't need a mighty God. And as God's people, we need to get back. Our God's bigger than what we're living. Our God is mightier than what we believe and what we're doing. And so look into these verses. For thou art not a God that has pleasure in wickedness, neither shall evil dwell with thee. Right? The word dwell here means dwell, but it's continual action. And so the psalmist is saying, Lord, you want nothing to do with wickedness and evil, and we know that you're a patient God, but you're not going to put up with it forever. The foolish shall not stand in your sight. The foolish will not continue to stand in your sight. Foolish is self-praising, and the word stand is taking a position of saying, well, God doesn't care. God's not around. I can do whatever I want. Where's your God? All sorts of things we hear of foolish people today. And David says, they will not be in your sight forever. They shall not stand and live the life and speak the things that they do forever. Thou shalt destroy them that speak lies. Leasing is lies. The Lord will abhor, or the Lord does abhor, the bloody and the deceitful, or the man of treachery. People that are devising the downfall, devising ways of sin, the ways to devise to take down thrones and to destroy Christians. And David says, the enemies around me, I feel evil about me. People are after my life, and I have no idea what's being said about me. But Lord, you do, and you can take care of this. King needs mercy. If a king needs to show mercy, the king needs to experience mercy himself. And let us never forget the flip side of that is when someone needs our forgiveness, we need to remind of what we've been forgiven of. And as long as we have a servant's heart, we'll understand the mercy of God and can share mercy upon others. It's too easy to seek vengeance in this day and to hate in this day. But as for me, David says, but not like them. I'll come into your house in the multitude of thy mercy, and in your fear will I bow down towards the holy temple. He said, as a future king, I'm not too big to understand who the real king is. Lead me, O Lord, in your righteousness because of mine enemies. David is saying, Lord, help me to do right in the midst of my enemies. Make your way straight or level before my face. Help me to always see you. Keep the path and keep my direction, keep my vision right on and straight and level, that my living would line up with that. Then there's a section on the multitude of sinners, that there's sinners around us. And what does a future king, how in the world does a future king need a multitude of sinners? It's not that he needs them, it's that he needs to understand that he'll always have them. That there's always going to be unfaithfulness and ungodliness and wickedness around us. For there is no faithfulness, there's no firmness or stability in the mouth. Their inward part, their hearts, very wicked. Their throats an open sepulcher. Jesus talked about the Pharisees being this. They flatter what they divide with their tongue. The word flatter in this case means to divide, to cause division. We're in a nation of great division. And the reason why this is read this verse and these verses. People are after power, and people are after prestige, and people say anything to further their cause and to create a division within the other. Destroy them, O God. Let them fall down by their own counselors, or their counsels. Cast them out in the multitude of their transgressions, their rebellions, for they've rebelled against you. So David is saying, look, I'll step out of the way. I could attack them, I could do some things to them, but this is in your hands. Multitude of sinners belong to you, Lord. I can pray, I can serve, I need to keep my path straight. But Lord, I need you to take care, and in your time, you deal with this. Then every king needs to be a merry servant, have a happy heart. As God's people, we need to have joy. We need to show it. We need to express it. We need to share it. We as God's people have so much to rejoice in things of God. But let all those that put their trust in you. The word trust here in the Hebrew means to flee to protection. Let all those that flee to you and know where their protection is. Let them ever shout for joy because you defend them. Let them also that love your name be joyful in you. The word defend means here that you put a hedge about them. We still have to live in a wicked world, but God has a hedge about us. We put up with a lot, but God's grace and God's love, and as we trust him and flee to him for protection, he's the one that is the protector and puts a hedge about us. We'll see more in a minute. For thou, Lord, will bless the righteous with favor, with delight, joy, and with delight or favor will you compass him as with a shield. The word compass means to surround him. And the word shield means something barbed in this case. A shield like a soldier would hold as defense is a secondary meaning. The real Hebrew meaning here is that like God puts a hedge about us, he's taking a step further, and David understands that the hedge is barbed, that if somebody comes at him, it's not just trying to get through some bushes, but it's a barbed wire fence. And so the Lord takes care of us. The Lord takes care of his people. These are the things that a future king needed. Look them over again. Start your day off right. And may God bless you. And we'll see you next week. Please read Psalm 6 in preparation for the next lesson or before that you view it. And you have the email address if you want the printed lesson sheets out. I'll be glad to send them to you.